Okay, guys, so let's see what these very interesting harmonies were yesterday. But let's see. But let's start from the previous day, because this golden section already gives us the idea of what is the main theme of what will be the following day or yesterday's session. Let's go the graph a little ahead so as to see the first swings. Here it is. Here we have immediately the first relationship, which is very beautiful, very precise, is a root of 3. We know it well. They are all the models in the book. The trade in geometric, therefore nothing new on the markets. Which continue to move according to the mathematics of volatility, which is visible only through geometric synthesis, only thanks to the scales which are obtained daily with the calculator, even on a 5-minute time frame. Stops, which are defined first and not on the past, but on the past, which is precisely the volatility of the day based on the parameters that characterize the calculator algorithm. So this is the root ratio of 3, very clearly visible from which the opening movement started. We will see that the opening is precisely after reaching this level. Among other things, you can see that this is 2:55 p.m. So half an hour earlier of the opening, the downward movement has begun. Many times the price dynamics also shows us these situations before the opening can actually come. Here it is. This is the movement. As interesting as the movement itself then ends up on the downward projection of the ratio of roots of 3. Obviously, I won't explain what I'm talking about, because those who follow talent geometry, those who have taken the courses, those who have read the book know what I'm talking about. Those who haven't will naturally be able to become curious and understand through videos like this how important it is to know these mathematical relationships, because we have information that allows us to understand certain levels first. See what I bring price time to tick as the tick had been made. The maximum on the previous swing, so let's go and build the square on the last swing. Think how useful this technique can be to you to perhaps contextualize the other techniques used. I don't know, for example, the order flow, which is very fashionable, or the indicators or the moving averages, or any other technique you use can have it's better context if combined with geometric synthesis, and this is why I show you how even on a 5-minute graph, which traditionally could represent a slightly dirty time frame, a little difficult to look at in a harmonious sense if it is done through geometric synthesis things, naturally they change and you see these harmonics. Maybe normally they are difficult to visualize because perhaps there is not enough preparation, there is no knowledge of the mathematical relationships that follow the markets, and which I have described precisely in this way since 2016. In the book Trading Geometry, as you can see, I am not taking a graph of who knows when, but the graph itself from yesterday, and among other things, as we have seen, there is also that from the day before yesterday, because the scale had not changed. So in this case, we have 2 days in a row with the same scale. So let's go and see the next level, which precisely falls into this point here. Therefore, a resistance, one of the possible resistances, and it is the ratio of the golden section on its reciprocal, moreover a ratio that had also characterized the previous day. among other things, the fall in the price and the holding of this base also coincides in some way with the reciprocal seen from the other side. This curiosity, however, is certainly interesting. Also this thing here, let's remove these levels. We have only put to show how the price went to do the maximum at the tick on the price level. Therefore, it is certainly useful to know those levels to contextualize one's operations as always, and to avoid misunderstandings, and also to avoid haters and subjects who are perhaps frustrated and rush to shout about the magical event. No, absolutely, here we are not predicting the future, but we know the mathematics of volatility well. And we measure what the potential is of a movement and where the most support and resistance levels are important, and which amounts to nothing other than saying where it is worth risking money in this, and the dynamics of these movements demonstrated. The price finds this minimum between the reciprocal of the golden section and the base of this reciprocal of the square. Built on the last swing, we will make it red to give a different color to this new swing, and we will make its reciprocal dark red. Let's see if we can find and select this reciprocal. We will make it dark red, and this will be the level where the price then will actually do the minimum, that is on the reciprocal of this square here. It is minimum to the tick and to the minute on this swing ratio again on the rise. We will make it yellow this time, and again we will enlarge a golden ratio a little. Again, for lovers of statistics, go and calculate what is the compound probability that the price always goes. On these ratios of a random event, obviously this probability is so low as to exclude the case, but these things are visible too. Anyone who wants to see them, let's put it better. Let's trace the golden section. Here it is. So this will be the next level of the golden section. As you can see, they are all levels that can be calculated first. It doesn't mean that the price stops there, of course, but often minimum boulders are made on these relationships, and therefore this information allows us to better contextualize our operations, especially since this relationship is the same one that existed previously, and it is the same one that we saw the previous day, marking the second maximum after the first one that occurred. It had been, and which you will remember we had identified and posted before it. Was reached on the Telegram channel dedicated to geometric trading, and prop firm here then is the maximum made on the golden section and the subsequent swing that develops downwards here. It is then let's go and create a square on this last swing, and we will see. An absolutely interesting circumstance, which is this spill from the square that falls exactly the projection of this diagonal. This diagonal here projected downwards is touched, therefore it marks a rectangle with a root level of 2, but in this case not on the model, because the possible support or the level where it would have been possible interesting the purchase perhaps would have been slightly lower, so below, but the bounce is interesting. For what reason? Why, let's remove this blue. For a moment, let's zoom in again and let's see the golden ratio inside this blue square exactly to understand what we saw here. We are going to repeat it in this area of volatility. And let's observe how the price will make the maximum precisely on this level from which the last leg of the decline that we see starting precisely here will then start. Here too we can insert the reciprocal to make it clearer how the price movement was perfect on the level. You see the precise point of the minimum here, of the maximum, sorry, here it is. This was the precise level. And then from this point a movement starts, which is a bearish movement. To understand which we must recall our notions of mathematics. We know that the part, let's say, of a rectangle of a square divided by the golden ratio, that is, this part here is made up of a golden rectangle plus a unit. So we can create a golden rectangle like this one here, as you know, as usual. We create it like this, and so here it is. This is a golden rectangle, and we will add a unit to find this ratio of phi. Squared we will put no below. We will make the rectangle first, then we will simply add the square, copying it more conveniently. We move this rectangle backwards in the display levels. This allows us to copy this square, and therefore it is clear that we have created a rectangle of phi squared. That is a golden rectangle plus 1. Unit, you know that phi squared is equal to 1 plus phi. Therefore we can construct a volatility area whose side is phi squared, and we will notice that mathematically the minimum will be found exactly in the center, that is on the middle of this volatility area, demonstrating once again the absolute geometric perfection of the price movement. Obviously this perfection needs to be found, a bit like how an investigator would do. Here it is the minimum exactly made here. Then clearly there is some error in the drawing, but the minimum is evident at the tick. And at the moment on this swing, the next movement therefore is not finished because the market has closed. And here it is then, the area of volatility that characterized the last minutes of the session until the end. And therefore this is the swing which tended towards the vertex of this square built on the golden section, squared and then diminished towards a laterality, which we could also in some way imagine, even if tomorrow there will be a new opening and therefore new scale and everything else. But we see that the tendency has been to conclude this movement still on the same golden ratio, which is this one. Well, dear friends, this is very, very instructive for me. So I give you this video where you can observe that all these models, all these minimum boulders are the ones described in the book Geometric Threading. So it was the day before, and this is almost always the case, and I remind you that this is only a 5-minute graph. So think how much this stuff here can help you to contextualize your strategies, whether they are based on any technical tool, but it is obvious that having such information will help you. It certainly helps whatever your approach to trading if you want to. Know more about this technique. I invite you to follow the website www.gtrading.com and follow the Telegram channel that you find in the comments, and of course write to me if you have any questions. Thank you.